पर उपस्थित अतिथि, विद्वान और यहाँ सभागार में उपस्थित सभी लोग, जैसा पूरे फेस्टिवल का स्वरूप है, इसमें विश्व रंग में विश्व साहित्य और उसकी बदलती प्रवृत्तियों के बारे में बात करना बनता भी है। और उस विषय पर हम इस सेशन में बात करेंगे। ये जो विषय है 21वीं शताब्दी का विश्व साहित्य, ये लगभग इस शताब्दी का 1/4 हिस्सा तो बीत गया, 3/4 हिस्सा अभी शेष है। लेकिन जो आज के समय दौर में जो समकालीन साहित्यकार हैं, ये उसमें जिएंगे। इसलिए हमने कोशिश भी ये की है कि मंच पर जो बातचीत करने के लिए जिस तरीके से कॉम्पोजिशन करें, हम युवा लोगों को भी शामिल करना चाहते थे, क्योंकि उनको जीना है। एक युवा कलाकार दक्षिण अफ्रीका से हैं, लेबो माशिले। ये कवि हैं, परफॉर्मर हैं, थिएटर करती हैं, सिनेमा करती हैं और सोशल एक्टिविस्ट भी हैं। लेबो माशिले की 2 किताबें प्रकाशित हैं, तीसरी किताब पे आप काम कर रही हैं। मुझे लगता है कि ये परिचय देते हुए हम सत्र को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। लेबो, आई एम इनवाइटिंग यू टू स्पीक ऑन द सब्जेक्ट. She is performing on the stage, she is writing poetry, and she has very clear views about the African society, the changing African society. I had long discussion with her yesterday, and we had discussion on Gandhi. They are re-evaluating Gandhi when he was in South Africa. They are re-evaluating Nelson Mandela role in the freedom struggle of Africa. So she is the right intellectual, young friend, intellectual, who can speak about the changing nature of the literature, which you see in the future by the end of the century. Welcome, Lebo.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure and my honor to have been given this opportunity to share my work and my ideas with you. My name is Lebo Mashile. In my country, surnames were a concept introduced by our colonizers. We did not have surnames. We had poetry and clan names that codified our identities. So my real name is Lebo Mashile ba Sekgodisa Malekane, Mokibane wa Monesa Morale, ngwana wa Lepula na Pula ha Chabe. Ke machabatladi serota ka mosela ntheng ya thaba magale a serorobele re matshilwane a shibe. A shilana kala moshidi ka mosho a shila tlhogo tsa batho, rena ba maswika maramaga e ke go maya tshilwane. The fact that I come from a part of the world that uses poetry to record and document identity, events, historical figures, it means that in 2019, as a 40-year-old woman, my great-grandparents had a reference point for what I do, and a 16-year-old in South Africa has a reference point for what I do. And that means that this art form will endure. If it survives in the way that we understand it, is a question that remains to be answered. I think narrative, the art of telling stories, the art of preserving memory, the art of using language to understand, examine, and expand our humanity will never die. This is why this country produces such extraordinary culture. But the landscape in which we are creating these stories is changing. And of course, we are living in a world now that is shaped and defined by technology. My praxis as an artist has been about trying to figure out how to make poetry live in different spaces. Poetry is the crown jewel of language. Poetry is what all language aspires to. As soon as human beings started speaking, we started making poetry. It's a human function. And before poetry was written, it was recorded in memory for the ear, for the heart, for the voice, for the breath, for the soul. And I think this is what is exciting about this particular era, is seeing how young people are taking this art form and making it live in ways that we couldn't have imagined. In my own experience, I've collaborated with musicians and filmmakers. I'm a theater maker. I've worked with visual artists, painters, printmakers. Poetry lends itself to collaboration. And I think in the digital era, we are going to see people take language and do unbelievable things with it, particularly poetry, because it lends itself to this. For artists who are interested, for poets who are interested in expanding the boundaries of what language can do with the digital medium, this is very exciting. It means that we are going to create hybrid art forms that we couldn't have imagined before. But it also means that our canons, the literature that has made us, the literature that has shaped our languages, it also has an opportunity to be reimagined, to be relearned, to be reinterpreted through new art forms. When I first discovered poetry, I think back to someone like William Shakespeare, who was sitting in the 1600s writing for largely working class people who would come to halls drunk and watch the actors of the day and the finest poet of the day critique society, critique leadership, critique religion, critique so many aspects of his society. This was pop culture, and it resonated as pop culture. When he was creating his work, he wasn't imagining a 16-year-old black girl falling in love with him in Africa. So I think this is what is exciting about what we do, is that it endures and it survives in unfathomable ways. What I do right now speaks to an audience that is real, in my country and around the world. But what I'm more excited about is what will survive when I am gone. That, for me, the essence of what lives in my work, what will endure, that, for me, is something that's very exciting to imagine and to dream about. I don't think Tagore imagined today how his work would live. But the business of the artist is to create the work. And in the 21st century, there's no limit to the kinds of ways that narrative, poetry, story, language can survive and can be expressed. Thank you. Thank you.